Hey everyone, this is Deepak, and in this blog video, I want to talk about a topic that I had a conversation with an advisor recently. And what I like to do in this blog video is to share with you, real conversation and real questions people are having so that you can gain some insight. And we want this to be extremely educational. So what we like to talk about today is, how do you build a virtual financial practice? And I know that has been an interest for many advisors for many, many years, specifically since pandemic. Many advisors have been looking to build virtual practice, and there is a lot of interest in that. And in this blog video, I want to talk about a few key, important points that you need to be aware of and consider if you have that goal, interest, or desire to create, what we refer to as a virtual financial practice. So let's first start with, let's define what is a virtual practice. So virtual financial practice in our definition is a practice that essentially you can run from anywhere. But you're not tied up to an office location, and you don't need to have your clients coming into locations, but you're able to provide a very good service. In fact, you can provide better service than what you can provide in the virtual world. And I can say that because in our business, we are 100% fully virtual business. And all of our advisor clients are spread across different parts of the world. And we service them, and we're able to provide them really good help and support that I don't think it's even possible to do that in person. So virtual practice really have that definition. So again, if you're thinking about virtual practice, let's say a financial practice, that is a practice that you can run from anywhere in the world. So that's kind of the idea. Specifically, there are licensing restrictions, so you probably won't have global practice, but at least you can go national. And we'll talk about that point as well. So that's the definition. It's something that you can do it from anywhere. Now let's talk about the benefits. What are the pros of a virtual practice? And if you have been debating on that, then you need to know that. Well, the biggest advantage of a virtual practice is the lifestyle that you get. Now that you don't have to be in locations, you really are able to manage your personal life and your business life in a very flexible manner. And of course, there are some rules that you need to put in place, but it does give you a lot of freedom. And I can personally say that from experience. I used to be in roles where I would be flying to see clients all the time, and it was required in that type of role. But with a young family, we wanted to build something virtual, and I can tell you that it is very empowering, it is very satisfying for you, but also more importantly for your family. So lifestyle is one of the biggest benefit you can get when you build a financial practice. And I also find that when you have a financial practice that is virtual, and you don't have to deal with like driving and parking and getting the distraction sometimes that can happen in the office and all that, you're able to be more creative, you can be more focused, and you can build a better product and solution for your clients. And I believe that that's a big benefit, because at the end of the day, to create something valuable, you need time. And virtual practice allows you to free up some time. So that's like a huge benefit of creating virtual practice. Now let's talk about some cons, like what are the disadvantages of a virtual practice. The first thing I'll tell you is like it's not for everybody. I know a lot of people have the desire to build a practice, and while the work sounds very exciting, it is not for everyone. It is certainly not for somebody that is not as interested in sales and marketing, because you will need to grow your practice, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if you are not a person that likes that type of work, then you're not going to be able to set up a virtual practice. Then you have to go, like it's more of an entrepreneurial thing in my view. Like it's because whether you work from home or office, I think your company, if you're working for large firms, have to make a decision. Some firms will give you the flexibility, but that comes with your ability to get clients and all that. So I think the key thing is, I've spoken to many advisors, they have the interest, but I can tell that that's not for them. They'll be more happier if they work for firms and go to office, and they'll have more income and success. Because the pain associated with building a virtual practice is not for everybody. It's also not for people that are very people person. So if you have this urge that you have to go shake hands, you have to go to events, you have to have the wine and dine, and you want to meet people. And if you believe that you create more value when you sit down with someone, and I've heard that many times, and that is true for many people, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of people. Their core principles are, in the belief system is to meet people. So in that case, you just have to say goodbye to a concept of virtual practice, and there is nothing wrong with that. You can be very successful, satisfied, and happy to have an in-person practice. But if you have that that urge to meet people, your transformation or transition to a virtual practice is going to be very difficult. But it can be done. But that is something to be aware of, and it's definitely not. You can feel lonely at times because you're not interacting with real in-person people. Okay, so after the cons, let's talk about the things that you are going to need. So there are three most important things if you want to build a virtual practice you are going to need. The first and the most important is you need to have a marketing strategy. And the only way to get a virtual marketing strategy is by using social media marketing. Platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, because that allows you to get people at any different place, the kinds of people you want, you are able to assess the need. Because for you to have a virtual practice, you also need to find prospects that are open for that type of relationship. So you absolutely have to figure out social media marketing. It's not going to work otherwise, right? So that's the most important thing. Like most people can't build a virtual practice because they simply cannot get clients and they simply don't have a process on LinkedIn and Facebook. And if that's the case, then again, check out our site. You'll find a lot of resources, and that's really the area we have been focusing on for many, many years. The second thing is you absolutely have to master the virtual sales process. Everyone have moved to a Zoom call, but the way you do presentation, the way you have meetings, the way you make an offer, the way you close, all that changes when it comes to a virtual. So you have to change your sales process. You can't do what you're doing in a room. The person is not sitting in front of you, and you have to adapt your sales process, because in the absence of that, you won't have clients and you won't be able to build the virtual practice. Last and the easy one is you need to have a virtual service delivery, because you're not going to meet your client, you're going to provide services remotely. Now, from my personal experience and knowledge, this has been virtualized for many, many years. In fact, majority of the investments and trades and all that, insurances, everything is done remotely anyways for many, many years. The only thing that advisors have kind of latched onto or sometimes prefer to do is to meet with the client once a year to review the plan and all that. And that's more optional, because the work and the value that the advisor provides, a plan typically these days are more software led. So you need to log into a portal to see a plan. Trades are all forever have been done online. So that's online as well. So I think it's just a meeting, it could be on Zoom. So you need to figure out a service delivery, which I think is the easiest part. I think marketing is your difficult part. Sales is also a second level difficulty. Service I think is not difficult, it's quite easy to do that. One thing I'd also like to mention that the another perks of virtual practice is that you're able to take your practice nationally. So you should look into getting licenses in multiple states. And the reason for that is the best way to build a virtual practice is to build it in multiple geographic locations. You can start with local, there's nothing wrong with that, but then you definitely want to be able to take clients, because virtual practice, the tenet of virtual practice is an ideal client. And if the ideal client is in other state, you want to be able to take them. And you should have the licenses. So I would highly recommend to look into the license requirement to be able to build and take clients from different locations and places. The last thing I would also mention that you have to spend a lot of time thinking about your value proposition, because in virtual world you are going to be competing a little bit more. When you have an office based environment where somebody is walking to your offices and they're looking at your office, they see other people. Those things can help you. But in the virtual world, you just have that Zoom call. You're sitting in your home office or most likely home office. So the only way to convert people into client is that you absolutely must have a great value proposition. You can't be just like other advisors. You can't be just doing financial plans like other people's. And you can't be like a marginally different than others. You have to be a lot different. So just going into value propositions, what is that you do really well, looking into a market that you can help, and things of that nature becomes really important. And also if you're trying to build a virtual practice, then the marketing materials that you get from your company, unfortunately, is not going to be as useful, right? You have to create something unique. In fact, I'm working with one of our advisor clients who absolutely want to build a practice virtually on those things, because the stuff that she has been using is not going to help her get there. So value proposition becomes very important because you have to be persuasive on a Zoom call. And follow-ups with technologies like emails and video calls and stuff like that. But you need to show people a transformation that you can create in their life. And once you figure that out, you're going to love getting clients from all over the place. So I hope this helps. It's a great topic. If you have any questions, do reach out. But I hope you found some insight in this blog video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.